Hi, just a little video now, not a review or anything like that. I'm doing that thing which I think probably everyone does once they get a sharpening system that they're happy with, and that's to start setting about sharpening absolutely everything they own. So I'm going to do a little sharpening video for this Spyderco Pingo. I'll also do a takedown as well. I'll explain why in a moment. This is a sharpening system in question. It's the LANSKY Deluxe sharpening system with a leather strop as well. It's absolutely fantastic. I can't stop using it. I'm trying to learn how to use it better. I'm really enjoying it. Now, this Spyderco Pingo, it's still pretty sharp. It's seen some use and it's lost that really nice toothy edge that you get with Spydercos. You can probably still see the grain in there, but it isn't quite as sharp as it used to be. It is still pretty sharp, but I'm sure I can get it sharper. But on that basis, I'm only going to be using the ultrafine stone, which is very smooth ceramic, and the strop, and just see how much better I can get it. Now, the reason why I want to do a takedown really is because the LANSKY system really wants to be set on a flat to get the best grip. So I want to be gripping up here, and I want to try it sort of without the burden of the weight of the handle wobbling around, and just see if that's any easier. Also, I haven't seen inside this knife. I'm sure there's nothing particularly exciting in there, but it's something I'd like to do as well. So I'll set about taking it apart. One thing I'll point out here is that what I found with the LANSKY system is that this sharpening notch is almost invisible to the eye, but it's sharp all the way up to the edge there. That will really help out, because if you look at this Bokeh XS, it doesn't have a sharpening notch, and you can see sort of as the bevels hit the, I think this bit's called the ricasso in knife making, but as the bevels hit there, they broaden out quite a lot, and that really causes the stones to crash. So I've really appreciated the need for a sharpening notch. I might cut one into this. A lot of people do, so just basically file out a little, get a circular file and file out there. This one needs sharpening. Might do a takedown on that as well, but let's crack on with the Pingo. Right, so for the takedown, it is just a T9 Torx screwdriver all the way around, and we'll start off. We'll start off with the clip side because there's not much going on there. Just doing it on a kitchen towel to keep things together. So that should pop off. And there's a screw. Put that together over here. You'll notice on the screw here, tiny little bit of blue, bit of Loctite. Keep that firm so it doesn't get shaken out. So that's a nice touch. Let's take off this one next. Now I've chosen to do it in the open position because I believe that's the point where there's the least pressure in the back spring. I might find that to be untrue. Let's see what happens when I undo the pivot here. As I say, this is a T9 all round, very simple. All the screws look to be to the same spec, but I won't get them mixed up just in case. Just see if this comes off easily. Oh, yes, very easily. So there's the scale. Nothing extra milled into that, so that would be easy to replace if you wanted. I'm going to try and mod that. And here we have the back spring. Take off the blade. There you go, that's the bit I want. I've got a back spring. I think these screws, yes, you've got a flat side on them, just there, so they always end up in exactly the right place, so that's really helpful. I'll leave that as it is currently, pop that there, and now we're really interested in this. So, I'm going to mount that up. I did find out something with this which I think I was using a little bit wrong. You want to start with them parallel, so this one needs to go in a little bit to help pinch in. That'll be about right. And there, just want to get a bit of the flat on there. Right. Okay, so maybe I'm not going to get all the flat on there, because I want to get that arc of the blade equal in the middle there. Let's try that. Right, pinch that in, and tighten with this one. It's actually a nice positive grip there. If you look down there, you can see that it's pinched quite nicely and evenly, so it's going to be central, the same angle on both sides. Right, let's put the stones together, and I'll work through the stones and we'll see if I've improved it. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I've just set up my ultrafine polishing stone on its rod, and I'm just going to mark out the bevel here. Just make sure I'm hitting the right place. Right, so that's the old trick of basically drawing down the middle of it. I've hit both sides pretty well. So I'm going to be quite cautious about how I'm doing this, because I don't want to reprofile this, I just want to get that slightly better edge, see if I can bring it up to better than factory standards. So I'm going in at 20 degrees, I think that'll be right. Let's just give it a go. Maybe we'll hit 25 in that case. I think 25 is where we're at. Right, so I've just finished off with the ultra fine. What I had to do actually was to move the blade forwards a little bit, because at the angle I was attacking from, which was 20 degrees at that point, the stone was actually hitting on the clamp here. So that's a little bit of a shortfall of the LANSKY system, is that blades which are very narrow, or I don't think this is very narrow, but you know, relatively shallow, you'll clash with the frame or the tightening screws here. So I've moved it out a little bit, and I adjusted the angle to 25, and what you'll see is that, you know, I've gone over it with the ultra fine, and you can see most of the marker pen's being removed, but you can still see that some remains in the grain, which just goes to show how superficial the sharpening work on this is with the ultra fine. It might be that I should have really started with the fine, but the edge is fine. I'm just trying to improve it really, so we'll see how that goes. I've just set up the strop, so we'll crack on with the strop for a little bit and see where we get to. So with the strop, it's always away from you, because otherwise you're going to be, or away from the guide, because otherwise you're going to cut the leather, which isn't any good. So I'll see how we get finished with the stropping pad, and I think it's as good as I'm going to get. It feels sharper, but we'll get it back together and have a quick paper cut test. And what I would say is that you can still see, if you, I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but you can still see that there's polished elements to it, but there's still a central area where you can still see the original sort of grain of the bevel grind, and also the ink captured within that. Now what I think this shows is that consistency really does affect at least the visual appearance of the final edge. So if I'd worked through and basically reprofiled to the chosen angle without moving this, I'd have got a much better result. However, I didn't want to do that, because the edge was actually good, and I didn't want to reduce the life of the knife. So possibly this system isn't necessarily the best system for just returning returning the life to an edge, but I'll learn, and I'll find out what is best. Certainly there's a place in life for honing, which is just returning the sort of straightness of the very fine edge, which is what sort of obviously butchers do with their sort of sharpening sticks. That's honing rather than sharpening, as far as I understand. So, as I say, we'll get that back together. Whilst I've got it apart, I'll just point out that, you know, just there, that's your half stop, that's your full stop, if that's the right words. But we'll get it back together, see if it's improved it. I think it has, but certainly something to learn there. Right, okay, so I've got it back together. It really wasn't too problematic. All I'd say is that just make sure that everything is nicely lined up and you press on the scale all in one go, because if you're down at one end, that little variation in angle will really muck up how those little bolts go through. Also, if you are sort of putting it together not sort of perfectly sequentially, if you don't have this bolt in, the back spring doesn't work, so there's a risk that your blade will clatter into the back spacer because there is no tension. Anyway, I'm sure you won't make the same mistakes as me. So I've just put this back together. It's gone back together pretty easily. The centering's still good, and using the strop and the ultrafine stone, I think I've improved the blade. It wasn't bad to begin with, but let's just see if it's better. Yeah. Well, I think it's better. It's certainly no worse. Okay, hope that was of some use. It was certainly useful for me to spend a bit more time with the sharpening system, learning how it works. If you've got any comments, if you've seen anything I've done wrong, if I should have just gone for a medium stone and worked down or anything like that, let me know. But hopefully that's of some use, because you've seen inside the knife. And as I say, yeah, I'm trying to get better at sharpening. So any advice you've got, let me know. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.